I'm trying to get my life together, so I've been watching a lot of Maury. Because Maury one of those shows where you feel like I don't have it together, I ain't doing anything with myself. You watch a little Maury and you're like, I'm not doing that bad. Actually, I'm doing pretty good now that I think about it. It's wild. I don't think Maury gets enough credit. I really don't. Maury is such an ally to the black community. He really is. In all the years he's been on the show, Maury has never fucked up a black name. Think about that shit. Over 20 years on the air, Dontwavius, says it like it's nothing. I'll mess up the name in my head. I'll be like, that's not even a word. That can't be a name. Maury will just sit there unfazed. They'll put the baby on the screen. You know, like, the show been on long enough that now, even in our DNA, we know we shouldn't be on Maury. So even the baby look embarrassed to be on Maury. Like, even the baby, like, it's not my fault. And I'll see the screen below the name, and I'll be like, is that a 2 in that nigga's name? And then Maury, without even missing a beat, will like, when it comes to the case of 6-month-old Twain, I'm like, wow! He said it with his full chest. No ums, no uhs. Wow. That's incredible. I don't know if y'all heard, but Elon and Zuckerberg want to fight. Yeah. That's gonna be the most unathletic fight of all time. That you can rest assured, no knuckles, just slaps. That whole fight. That seemed, the two of them fights seem like the type of fight where somebody gonna scream. You know what I mean? Like you hear the skull. Like they never been bruised before, so they're like, why am I changing colors like this? Is this what poor people go through? This is crazy. This is wild. I don't know. I want to see them fight, but like, I don't want to see them box or wrestle. They should only be able to fight if they use weapons. Like I would watch that. That'd be amazing. Just give them 2 swords and let them cook on each other, you know? Wow. I'd love to see them fight though. Like Zuckerberg looked like if you hit him hard enough, a screw will pop out his mouth. Like, and Elon looked like if you cut that man, it's gonna be nothing but Elmer's glue and marshmallow cream coming out. Those two are the whitest people I've ever seen in my life. Have you seen those two on the beach? It looks illegal. Like, I don't know how to describe. These two are so white, it feels unfair to white people to call them white. Their color should be called colonizer. That's crazy that they're both called white. I don't know. I think that they should fight. I just don't want to see them fight in MMA. I want to see them, yeah, fighting like a little tiny submersible thing. And we'd be like, you gotta go down. If you do it up here, it won't be fair. So, yeah. Have y'all used Threads yet? Okay, a couple woos. All right. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. It seems okay. You know what I mean? It seems like what the old internet used to be. You remember that old like AOL text type? That's what it feels like. I just can't wait for Threads to become a dating app. Because that's what happens. Like, men are too horny and nasty not to turn everything into a dating app eventually. Anything with DMs becomes a dating app almost instantaneously. It's crazy. Men will turn Uber Eats into a dating app. We'll be like, we'll get the pizza delivered and be, if she cute, you like, I got a whole pizza if you want to hang out for a little while. Like, dudes turned the phone into a dating app before dating apps. A lot of people don't know about it. So, in March 7th, of 1876, Alexander Graham Bell was given the patent for the telephone. But they don't put it in the history books that on March 8th of 1876 was the first time somebody made a phone call and was like, "What the fuck you wearing, bitch?" What color are those pantaloons? Oh, they're beige? Oh, you little trollop. Yeah, what color? Oh, that's the thing, too. Like, just popped in my head this week. Sometimes you just have memories of when you were little for no reason. I've been thinking about my life and thinking about growing up and stuff, and I just had this thing. From when I was a little kid, I went to the grocery store with my grandma, and this was not a good grocery store. We didn't have it like that, so it was a discount grocery store, and it was pretty bad. Like, it was one of the ones where you go in and the meat is $3, but then when you ask what type of meat it is, the butcher be like, "Why you asking all these questions, dog? Like, just take it or don't take it." And I don't know how to describe it, but there's a weird thing that when you're in a bad situation, but you're used to it, just feels normal, you know? And so I was hanging out with my grandma, we were walking, she was putting stuff in the cart and everything, and then we heard an argument that turned into a fight on the other aisle, right? And it's loud, and they're knocking stuff over off the shelves and stuff, and they're screaming at each other, and one of them's like, "You don't get out my face, I'll shoot you." Yeah, like nothing you want to be a part of. And I saw my grandma turning down to go down that aisle, and I'm 6 years old, but I'm like, "Grandma, do we really need to?" And she like, "I need the bread. They not fighting me, all right?" And the night before I went to the grocery store with my grandma, I was at home, and I was watching TV. And because we didn't have a ton of money growing up, cable was a luxury. And it was a luxury that my mom had to time. Because she wanted to give me what other kids had, but she just knew she couldn't really give it to me all the time. So we had to plan cable. So my mom, we would have it for 3 months, not have it for 6, you know. My mom would sit me down and be like, "All right, so you gonna see the beginning of the season of Friends. But you're gonna have to find out about Ross and Rachel from word of mouth, all right?" And so I remember this night was special because everyone had gone to bed without sending me to bed. So I'm 6 years old, and I'm just up late. Everybody's asleep. I got control of the remote. This is crazy. I'm about to watch whatever comes on late. This is wild. So I was flipping channels and stuff, and in my head, I'm like, if I don't keep it too loud, nobody will even notice. I can watch whatever I want. This is amazing. And when you're little, you're just excited for it to be late because you just never experienced late before. Like I was just running around like 2 a.m., 2 a.m., 2 a.m., 2 a.m., 2 a.m., right? So I remember I was flipping channels and I landed on Night of the Living Dead. And I watched Night of the Living Dead at 6 years old, which is far too young for me because I don't even know about real life yet. So I don't know if this stuff can happen or not. Side note, I found out years later, back in the day when they were making horror movies, like the early horror movies, their prosthetics weren't that good. So if you got hired to be a zombie, you were just ugly. Like that's... There's a little history tidbit for you. Anyway, I'm watching it, and it's terrifying. This is crazy. I was like, this is a bad idea. I can see why they sent me to bed. Nothing good happens at 3 a.m. This is crazy. So I went to bed, and then, you know, next day, wake up, go with my grandma to the grocery store, and as she's about to turn the aisle, we hear like a scream and a big, loud thud, and then silence. And I was like, "Grandma, are you sure that we want to turn this corner?" Because he said, "I'm going to shoot anybody in my face, and if we turn the corner, we're going to be in his face." Well, if he misses the person he aiming at, you know. He's like, "Boy, come on." And so then what we would find out later, what was actually happening, was there was a fight between two dudes in wheelchairs. That's why it was such a ruckus and everything was getting knocked over, because they get knocked over, they got to roll back up. Punch. And so the thud that we heard was the finishing move from the first guy, because what he did, they had been scuffling and knocking stuff over with their chairs and everything, and then finally he just grabbed that dude by the collar and threw him out his chair. And so when we turn the corner, all we see is just a bunch of bread and rice on the ground. That dude done rolled off already. And so the only thing that I see coming at me is a dude with no legs crawling like this. So I'm like, my grandmama grabbed me and pulled me to the other aisle. She was like, boy, what is wrong with you? That is an amputee. You need to have some damn compassion. And I told her, I was like, Grandma, I don't know what an amputee is, but that nigga is a zombie, all right? Terrible. Do y'all ever worry? That's the whole question. Like, my man, what do you worry about? Nothing really? You don't worry about any... Damn, that's the whitest answer I've ever heard in my life. That's crazy. That's why... Ooh, you got... Oh, she worries a lot. So she probably worried because you don't worry. She probably like... This stupid motherfucker doesn't worry about shit. She probably, like... Well, what do you worry about since you're the one with sense in the family? Just everything? Yeah, okay. Wow. Y'all are a great fit for each other. I'm glad that y'all found a real yin-yang situation. Nothing. I don't worry about it. But why would you even admit that to somebody? That sounds like the whole crowd should jump you. It sounds like you got it like that. That's crazy. What about you? What do you worry about?
Family.
You worry about family? Yeah, I worry about family too. It's fair. Do you have a particular family member you worry about, or you just worry about in general everybody being...
Their well-being.
Their well-being? Okay.
I live far away from them.
Oh, you live far, so you worry about. That's, what a sweet answer. Y'all are, jeez. Really pulling blood from a stone here. This is crazy. What do you worry about? Nothing. What do you worry about? Just all of us, really. Just that they'll wake up happy and healthy. I worry, I'm just like you though. I worry about family. I worry about my cousin because he an idiot. He is. My cousin is wild. So my cousin joined a cult, right? I know, which is a big deal for that cult because they don't get a lot of us. You know what I mean? Like they were so excited to have a black friend. That was crazy. They were like, and I remember somebody told me to join the cult, and so I went ahead and looked it up, you know, because I'm worried about my cousin. I want him to be all right. I look it up, and I could tell he was in danger because the website was trash. It was like, I was like, Comic Sans, he is in danger, all right? This is terrible. They really crazy out here. That's wild. Broken link 404 not found. Oh, Lord. They might already did it. Okay. And so, basically, I went ahead and was talking to him. In my mind, the best thing to do was just go ahead and go to one of his meetings with him. Because the thing that cults do is that they create a shared language and a shared experience that no one outside the cult can actually understand or participate in unless they're in it. So then when you tell your friends and family about it, they look at you skeptical. They just don't understand because they weren't there, right? But if they come there with you, like if I show up with him and hear the dude preaching and just turn to him like, nigga, like, that might break it. And so I went there, and it was this weird house and everything. And I sat down. and including me in the room, the whole cult congregation was 4 people. And I was like, this is not a cult at all. Y'all just 2 idiots doing a guy favors. This is not, your cult can't even move a pool table. What are you doing? You done wasted my whole Saturday. You just call me when you in some real danger. All right, y'all were great. Thank you so much.
My name is Josh Johnson, and I'm originally from Louisiana. Growing up in Louisiana, it was like being in a bathtub and you can't get out, and the water is dirty, and it's racist. I'm into comic books a lot. It started out when I was young. I couldn't afford the good comics, so I would get these sort of like discontinued publications that were like a quarter. Because of that, I never knew what other kids were talking about. Then I read Spider-Man. I was like, this is way better. Oh my gosh, I wish I had grown up with even a little bit of money, and then I would have just bought the $1.25 comic and known what my friends were talking about. The advice that I wish I got when I first started was to quit. I stuck with comedy because even though a bomb is this scary thing that no comic wants to experience, I don't do that well in individual conversations. And so a comedy show is just bombing with everyone at one time, you know? Until it went really well, and then it was like a drug. I was addicted to sort of making people laugh because I grew up alone and didn't have a ton of friends, and so whenever I'm on stage, it's like everyone's my friend for a little while. Oh God, that's so sad. Like I didn't realize how sad that was until I was done saying it.
Clap your hands, everybody, for Josh Johnson.
Cool. How you guys doing? Everybody good? Yeah. I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I was fired from being in a gang. They kicked me out because I was too positive. They were like, why you always smiling, dog? I'm like, I mean, none of us are dead or in jail, and we're a gang. They also kicked me out because I apologized too much. Our drive-bys sounded like, sorry. Like that's, after a while I saw their point, you know? And even when it came down to it and they were kicking me out and I was like, I just want to hang out with my friends and you guys are my friends and now I don't know what I'm gonna do. Why do I have to leave? And they were like, bro, you giggle. I get hyped for the 4th of July ahead of time, really far out, you know? Get great barbecue, you know? It's the country's birthday and everything, you know? It's the only time as a guy you can look up at the sky and be like, ooh, sparkly, yes. You still have to hide it behind machismo, like, yeah, it's sparkly, but it's blowing up, all right? Anybody can get it, shots fired, okay? You know, 4th of July is just a straight pride parade. That's all it's ever been, you know? It's just the one time a year guys get to be like, yeah! It's basically, don't act like it's not drag just because you put on a longer beard. Like, you dancing in the street too, you know? That's why I'm always blown away by people who complain about pride and they're like, there's no straight pride parade. I'm like, yours is coming up in a month. Like, you can't give it 30 days. Even when you think about it too, you think about the way that the country came together too. We think of the founding fathers as all these like old wise men and everything because that's when they got painted. You know, they got painted late. They had already survived the war by the time we painted them. When they were in the war, they were much younger. We got the paintings when they were like 40. But they fought in the war. You think they were fighting in the war old? You know what I mean? Like, yo, you think Washington was in the war like, get them, boys? No, y'all shoot. Oh. No, these were young men. Young men battling to create a country, you know? And it's mind-blowing how young they were when we won. You know, July 4th of 1776, Alexander Hamilton was in his 20s, early 20s. So was Aaron Burr. You know, some of the oldest people, I think even Washington was like only 40 or something. And that's just, it should be a testament to the fact that sometimes, you know, as much as young people don't always know the way, they have the energy to go the furthest, you know? So sometimes it's important to, like, let young people lead and old people guide, you know? I think that's how you... That's how you... You know, because there's someone that has all the passion, all the fire in their heart to do something, to, like, try to build a better world, and then there's someone behind them that doesn't have as much of the fire anymore, but is like, don't trip over that rock. Just go a little bit more left, and you'll be fine. Don't do what I did. That's how I messed up my knee, though. No. Founding fathers they're fascinating to me because, you know, they were trying to carve out an ideal into making it, you know, making it substantial, making it real, making it a country and everything. But there were still some pretty deep. I don't know. It's a hard thing to write down. You know, all men are created equal, and then look over and be like, yeah, except. Yeah, I mean. So it's a dream that took time, still takes time, still hasn't been fully realized in the way that it's at least on the paper. You know, like sometimes people have this revisionist history about the founding fathers, like they would have wanted the best for everyone and for all of us to get along. And I'm like, no, they said what they meant. They, do you know what I mean? Like, the founding fathers didn't have slaves, but also be like, one day someone will right this wrong. You know? But I think about how even, you know, people know more about Alexander Hamilton now because of the musical and stuff. But Hamilton, you know, staunchly against slavery and everything, and he was young, so I'm sure he was like this young kid that people looked at like, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. He just talks a lot, you know? And it's funny how we know about Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr's feud mostly because of the musical, but we don't know how petty it got. Alexander Hamilton built a home in New York City, right? And Aaron Burr used his money to build a home down the street because he was jealous of where Alexander's home was, so he built the house pretty close by so that I guess Hamilton could see him hating from down the street. Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr were the original Kendrick and Drake. Amazing. I also get excited for the summer. I get excited for July because it usually means, at least for some years, that Will Smith has a new movie out. And it's happened. Bad Boys is out. It's crushing the box office, you know. Will Smith slapped all the money out of Hollywood. Man, I want them to make as many Bad Boys movies as possible. I want to see these men old. I want there to be so many Bad Boys movies that after a while you're like, boys? I want them to make so many they gotta change it to Bad Unks, you know? As I'm getting older, I realize this year that all of my close friends are either in or closely approaching their 30s. And it's so funny because, you know, everybody 30 and up, when people turn 30 now, they call themselves old, which is insane to me. That's so, like, medicine is getting good enough where you can kind of expect to live to 90, but you're old at 30. Why would you be old most of the time? That doesn't make any sense at all. You don't bring home bread and then the next day go, it's pretty old. No. But I get how people feel that way. I really do. Because what's happening is we know deep down, right? We have this obsession with youth. And we, you know, everyone's trying to look young, be young, stay young, feel young, all this stuff like that. And it's mainly because, and I've said this before, it's mainly because we know how we treat older people. So we're more scared of that than we are getting old. What's wrong with getting older? You know more stuff. Why would that be bad, you know? But I get how people feel old at a certain time, because especially people who are in their 30s now, we're in a very specific time that hasn't happened at least the way that it's happening to us, right? Because we were like coming of age at a time that was like a turning point for what feels like almost everything, right? Business gets done differently now. Tech is different. Every aspect of life is different, and we remember right before and as it turned and now. You know what I mean? Like if you're in your like 30s, if you're like 33 and up, you remember before Google. That sounds ancient. That's... Just to say before Google sounds like another century, because it was. I work with people that are younger than me. I was explaining to someone, and I hate when I have to explain a thing that makes me sound older than I am, because they're a little younger. So then I had to explain before Google to them. And I sounded crazy. I sounded crazy to me, but I was there, so I know I'm not wrong. I sounded insane. I was like, no, because before Google, you had to just know. And if you didn't know, you had to ask somebody who you hope knew and was friendly. And if they didn't know, you had to go online. We still had online. Don't do that. We still had online. So then you had to go online and you had to ask Jeeves. And then they were like, "What is Ask Jeeves? Like, what is?" And I was like, "Ask Jeeves is. It's like if Google was white. Like it's." So you had to ask Jeeves, and if Jeeves didn't know, then you had to go to the library, and you had to ask a librarian. And if the librarian didn't know, they would give you a number with dots. They would give you a library is like a house for books. They would give you a number with dots, and then you would go trace the dots and the number to a book, and then you would read the book to see if the answer to your question was in there. And if it wasn't, you would just know a bunch of different stuff. You would know. A book is like a slow Kindle. It's like. like you scroll with your finger, but it turns like there's something to turn with your finger. It's not, there's no screen. And then, if your question, what you've been looking for 6 months, yes, it takes a long time. So maybe cut your dad some slack, all right? It used to be harder to know. Do you know how crazy you sound saying it used to be harder to know? That's not how I wanted to end it. I know I'm getting older because I'm getting genuinely more and more nostalgic for small things. Like not movies, not like like really small things about life. Like I miss growing up in the 90s. I think all of our appliances in the 90s were just better. They were just like top notch because not only did they last longer and they worked, but you could fix anything in your house by hitting it. Violence solves so much in the home. Growing up, all you need was some fists and some belief. And you could fix a whole house. Don't want me to call a contractor or anything. Like if you had just any appliance, you know? And what was special about it was that you knew how to hit it. You knew how to hit yours. That's very important. It wasn't just you could go hitting stuff. Well, you got to know your machine and you knew how to hit it specifically to get it to work. And it wouldn't work when you went over to your friend's house. You go over to your friend's house and their thing wouldn't be working and you'd be like, and they'd be like, no, you gotta go. And you're like, wow, I didn't know that. I don't have that model. That's good to know. So when I upgrade, it's 2. Okay, that's good to know. And it's two towards the front. All right, that's good to know. It was a beautiful time. I just felt like things really worked. You know? Like a 90s washing machine. A 90s washing machine you could hear it all through if you were lucky enough to have a washing machine in your home, if you had a laundry room in your home, you could hear, no matter where you were in the house, because the washing machine would be whooping your clothes. No matter where you were in the house, as soon as you started to watch, you would hold off watching a movie. Because you're like, we can't watch a movie and do the laundry. That's not, it's going to mess up the experience, all right? It would be whooping the state. You could hear your clothes getting beat. And they were all loud, and they all just, like, the washing machine moved like it had legs. No matter where you were in the house, you could hear your clothes screaming in the machine, just, oh! And you would go, whether it was your house or somebody else's house, you could go to somebody's house, you could tell how strong their washing machine was by how messed up the paint was on the wall, on that edge that was next to the machine. It would be beating your clothes, beating the stains out, horrific stuff, right? To the point where you could, even when you stained the shirt, you could tell, even back in the 90s, your shirts would be like, don't do that to me, bro. No, come on. Hey, no, we good? I'll push it out. I'll push the stain out. Don't send me in there with them. No, be amazing. And then if there was a little malfunction, if the door wouldn't lock and lips started coming up and everything, you know, suds started spitting out everything, just took a little bam. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh. It was beautiful, you know? These new washing machines. I know I already sound like an old man, but this. I was at an Airbnb. They had a washing machine in the Airbnb, which at first I was very excited about. I was like, oh, it's amazing. You never get this, right? And the washing machine was state of the art, and it was like a Tesla washing machine. It was It had so many buttons. It had a keyboard's worth of buttons. It had more buttons than I cared to read. Like it was, I just wanted to hit clean. Like it had a handkerchief setting. It was insanity. And then you put got a stain on the shirt, put the clothes in, and then, you hit whatever, turn. There was a lot to do. And then you hit and it starts and you can tell something is happening because it's spinning and you can see through it now. It has the little door where you can look in and it's spinning so fast that the clothes are gone. Like I was looking at it, I was like, I can't tell if it's spinning or if it left. This is crazy, but it was silent and I didn't like that. I didn't like that it was quiet the entire time, right? Just but nothing. You couldn't hear anything, right? I didn't even know when the clothes were done. That would have never happened in the 90s. You always knew when your clothes were done because your washing machine would finish beating your clothes. And you would hear, oh! Because they used to put alarm clock stuff in the washing machine to make sure they made the same noise. This thing finished, I had no idea. It finished and it was like, hey. I don't want to disturb you, but I think I did it. And then I pulled the shirt out of the washing machine. The stain was so intact. The stain was sitting there comfortably. The stain was looking at me like it had his legs crossed. Like, looking at me like, your move. Even TVs. I remember we got like a big screen TV and it was a huge deal, but the TV was like, if I remember correctly, it was kind of like a hand-me-down because we got the TV because it wasn't really working as much anymore. So the people that were throwing out the TV were like, we're going to get a new TV. And we were like, we don't have a TV, so let's take yours, right? And it was huge. It took up like most of remember the big 90s, tall, wide. Remember when TVs had ass? Do you know what I mean? Like really had it, like some true thickums. You know what I mean? Like, you would go over to your friend's house, they'd be like, I got a new TV. You'd be like, ooh, she packing. Oh, wow. I don't even understand. I don't even know why they made them like that. But it had like, it would be the screen here, but then just boom, boom. And that was great because even though the TV didn't always work, you knew how to work it, right? Because it would do that thing where all those TVs back then, when they didn't work, they would just get wavy. You know what I mean? Remember that? It would be like, I'd put on the news and it would just be like red, blue, green, red, magenta, yellow. And you turn on the news and be like, at 8 o'clock. Because I was little when we got this TV, and I remember turning it on and it wasn't working. I was like, Mama, the TV ate a popsicle. And my dad would usually be the one to hit the TV because he knew how to do it, right? But my dad hit the TV a lot. My dad hit the TV so much, sometimes I was wondering if it was really about the TV. You know what I mean? Sometimes my dad would hit TV, I'm like, no, it was working. But my dad hit the TV so much that I think the TV genuinely learned to recognize, hey! One time I was trying to watch the news and my dad came home. That's all he did. He just came into the house and the TV was like, 8 o'clock. As soon as he closed the door, it was like 2 people were murdered. then I got a TV. I bought a TV for myself as an adult because I wanted to have my own big screen TV. I wanted to have my own, like, oh, I'm sitting at home chilling for the weekend, watching a movie, have a real experience for myself, right? And I bought it. It was too expensive. I took out a car note on this TV. This several payment TV, and we bring it home. I'm excited initially. I'm super excited because, they bring it home and they install it, they mount it on the wall and everything. Smart TV, brilliant TV. Good grades TV, right? But I'm trying to watch this TV and I want to be, I'm not like a dumb person, but like I cannot figure out how to get the subtitles off this TV, and it's like, I can't stress how much this is not my fault, all right? I'm not like a dumb, like I know I'm up here doing the jokes that we're all having a good, but I'm not a dumb guy. Like this is crazy, all right? And I want to be clear, I know that it's not the HBO subtitles at all, because then I go to the settings at HBO, and HBO is like, it's not us. We're not the one to do it. But I'm trying to watch Dune 2, right? Trying to watch Dune 2 on this big screen TV. I turn on HBO, I'm watching, and it gets to that part where like Timothy Chalamet doing that like Fremen language, so he's like, you know what I mean? Like whatever they say. And so then in the movie, they have subtitles for that part, because nobody knows what they say, right? So then the movie, those subtitles come up. But then on top of those subtitles are these like nasty gray italic subtitles coming up, and I'm like, who is typing? That's not what I wanted at all, and I can't get it off, and it's great, and it was everything I watched. I would leave HBO and I go watch something somewhere else, and they were like, and that's not even as bad as when I first got it, because when I first got it, when I first brought the TV home, it had, I don't know how it happened, it had the audio description on. All right. Now, if you, some of you are familiar. So, if you don't know what audio description is, it's basically if you're watching it and you're visually impaired, it will give you both context for what is happening in the show and things that are more like stage direction. They're just happening silently, right? So then I don't know that that's on. I don't know. I didn't press anything. I just turned on TV. I hit on the TV. That's all I did. And so then I went to watch Law & Order SVU, all right? So now I'm watching Law & Order, and Olivia is like handing somebody their ass, right? Like she's just like, you don't know anything about Survivor, you don't know anything. And then she walks out of the room, and then as she walks out of the room, my TV is like, Olivia leaves the room. And I'm like, who is that? Who is that? Who is in here? And I went to the settings. I went to Peacock. I went into the settings, and the Peacock settings were like, it's not us. We're not doing that. I've used remotes all my life. I've all the time used the remote, and I pressed the remote was not remoting. Finally, it was off. I don't even know what I did. Maybe I didn't do anything. Maybe the TV just decided to stop doing it. I have no idea. But I was watching a different episode, and Olivia was once again handing somebody their ass. You don't know anything about Survivor. You don't know anything. And then she left the room, and I was like, because what can you do with this TV? What can I do when I can't get the subtitles on? You can't hit it. You can't hit it. I took out a mortgage on this TV. You cannot hit it. You used to be able, when the old TV